Welcome back, Raw Thoughts listeners. Today I have a dear friend. I have known her for many, 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 many years, and she is the owner of Lovely Hollow Farms. So welcome, Nikki. I'm so excited you're on.
Thank you.
And I just want to know everything about the farm. Like what's Nikki's world?
What is my world? It is a lot of work. All rewarding. Always rewarding. But yeah, it's basically just eat, sleep, and breathe flowers and event coordinating and trying to stay sane through all of it. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's great. No, it's been quite the journey from what it started out as and what it is now. I never thought it would be where it's at today, which is a decently buzzing place on Wednesday nights and Saturday and Sunday mornings.
It is a poppin' place on Wednesday.
Yeah, you came to opening night, and then you came for paint night, and then I swear you came another night too.
No, I only came those two nights, but they are the best.
Yeah.
And I want to tell our listeners, so back, gosh, what year was that?
It was the beginning of 2019, actually. Yeah. Because I had because I started the farm in the summer of 19, and I had joined this awesome with Allison. Her name's Allison Faulkner. She's like a social media influencer in Utah, and she had like a New Year's goal setting workbook that I was working on. Sorry, when I saw you at Starbucks in 2019. Sorry, you can know the rest of the story.
No, you're good. Okay, so 2019, I kind of came back. I was living in Boise, and it was I don't even know what I was doing at Caldwell, but I stopped and got a Starbucks. And actually, I think I was doing college work. I think I was doing school work what I was doing. And so I run into Nikki. I'm like, oh my gosh, like we're catching up on life. And I'm like, Nikki, what are you up to? And she's like, drawing. And she's like, I'm going to start a flower farm. And I was like, what even is a flower farm? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You know? And she literally had your planner.
Yeah.
You had it all written out. You had it drawn out of where your flowers were going to be, how they were going to walk in. And so it is so cool watching. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've known her. Like, I'm your little fangirl that you don't know about in the background. I'm like, I went to school with her. Like, yes,
So
I've known her since we were in
crazy.
elementary.
I know. I remember that day. You're like, Nikki? Like, oh my gosh. Because I hadn't seen you in years. And I was like, oh my gosh, hi. And you're like, what's going on? And I told you. And yeah, I remember having like my little workbook and like working on it. And it's like goals for the year. Like, what do you want to achieve? And I was like, I want to start my own business. And like, I'd written that down. And then, and it's actually funny. I found that workbook like probably like a couple weeks ago. I was like going through stuff and I just like got emotional because it was so raw. It was so like innocent. Like I had no idea that I would be where I'm at today just from this, I don't know, this little idea that turned into what it is now. Yeah, I get emotional thinking about it. Yeah.
It's cool to see though.
Yeah.
You know, where I think you are grinding day in and day out and you're just forging forward and you're on to the next thing.
Thank
and
you.
you're on to, bigger things. And then you reflect and you're like, oh my gosh, like this really did just come from a seed and just a thought and an idea and a dream.
Yeah. Reflection is so powerful. It can also be really, kind of eye-opening. You're like, I did that. So 2019, I like basically planted like a row of flowers, like a couple rows, whatever. And I like put it out on Instagram, like started the page. I'm like, hey, come to my farm. You can pick your own flowers. Here's a bucket. Like enjoy yourself. And I probably had like 100 people maybe show up that day. And it was like close family and friends. And it was great. Now it was 2019, 2020. Oh my gosh, so scary. There was like so many people that came to opening day. I was not prepared. I learned so many lessons that day. It was still like people were so great. Like I learned a lot about like how to manage a big event, how to market it, what I need to do in preparation. Like I learned, boundaries and all those things after June. I think it was like June 27th, 2020. Like, oh my gosh, there were so many people came to the farm and I wasn't prepared. Whatever. Big lessons learned. Everyone still had a great time for the most part. There were some people that were like, you ran out of flowers. And I was like, I know, but I just did not know that everyone from the valley would come to this little farm. Yeah. So then 2021, I was more prepared and I had so many flowers. And then 2022, same. Like I have quite an array, I've really expanded on the acreage of flowers. And I just am a little bit more prepared. And I just have things more, I don't know, like laid out well, I guess, like boundaries and rules and why and how and like how I operate, how the business operates. It's just, I've learned a lot in the last 4 years. So.
Well, and I feel like you have to sometimes learn the hard way and, and adapt, you know, instead of just saying like, no, this is my hard rule. You can learn from your first event to now your later event and being like, wow, I learned from that experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like every, like, I guess rule or like, okay, actually we do it this way is because I learned, okay, well, we cannot operate like this. This is not going to work. Like, I even actually was just saying yesterday, I was like, I don't think I can do bridal buckets anymore. Where like brides, they usually reach out to me and they're like, hey, on email or whatever. And they're like, hey, can I come pick flowers for my wedding? It's not really working for me anymore. And I feel like I'm not delivering the best service I could. And so like, I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to draw a boundary there. Like I can't do it anymore. Like I think I need to just strictly just be like a experience flower farm, or like you come on Wednesday nights, Saturday and Sunday mornings, and there's like food trucks and you pick your flowers and there's live music and you just chill, instead of like really like about the flowers for the wedding. It just doesn't really work anymore. So anyway, yeah.
I didn't even know you did that.
Well, I didn't really know either. That's the thing about starting a business is you're like, yeah, I guess we could do that. And then you're like, oh, this isn't really working. I actually even just, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. I actually, before I came in here, what a day it's been, I got a call from a business in Caldwell who, I swear, whatever. And they're like, yo, are you coming with the flowers? And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And they're like, well, yeah, we're having like our farm to fork dinner. Like you said you were going to supply them. And I'm like, when did I say that? And they're like, well, we like briefly talked about it. And I'm like, oh. And so I just had to be like super frank and be like, I'm so sorry for miscommunication. Like I can try and scramble and get you some like arrangements. Like I don't want to operate my business this way, but like I've now come to the conclusion of being like on the way over here, I'm like, okay, I have to set a boundary. Like, oh, sorry, I don't do events. Like, sorry, I don't do wedding flowers. Sorry, I don't do bridal buckets. Like you strictly have to come to me and pick your flowers. Cause it's just, you can't do it all, and you don't have to do it all either. I think I've learned that too. I do not have to do, just cause I own a flower farm and I have all the product does not mean I need to do everything for people that want flowers.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, because I think a lot of people want them for different reasons, you know, whether it be an event or whether it be for their wedding.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many different uses of the flowers.
Right.
And you're giving the people the experience of come out, make a day of it.
Yes.
Make a memory out of it instead of being about those specific flowers.
100%. I'm not like it's actually kind of funny. I'm not like a humongous flower fan. Like, yeah, they're great and I love them, but I'm not like this, like everyone's like, oh, have you just grown flowers from like a little girl? Like you just bathed in flower seeds? I'm like, actually, no. It's kind of funny. Like it's not really about the product for me. It's about what the product does for people and it brings you together. And 2020, I really saw that. Like people didn't even really give a crap if the flowers were like even blooming or not. They just wanted to be out with their family and friends, connecting, gathering in like a beautiful place with a big yard, like that was, you know, socially distant, safe and stuff like that. So it's not really about the product for me. So that's why it's hard. Yeah. Like people are like, oh, I need flowers for a funeral. I need flowers for a wedding. I need flowers for this. I'm like, I'm just like, I don't think I'm going to do anymore, which is okay. I think you learn boundaries, like you said, as you go along in your business. But yeah, Lovely Hollow for me is for sure all about experience and connection. Like I said, I mean, the flowers they're almost like an afterthought. They are really pretty to look at though.
They're absolutely beautiful to look at.
Thank you.
And like she said, I've came 2 times this year.
You have? Yeah.
Which is funny because these are the only 2 times I've ever been able to make it to your farm.
I know. I'm
which
so
is
happy.
super fun.
Yeah, you kids, because then you came. Wait, didn't you come? Okay, because you came to paint night.
That
was so cool. That was fun. That was really intimate. Did you see those photos I sent you?
Yes.
Those were good.
They were adorable.
Yeah.
Of our whole family. And I was like,
super cute.
As the
Family's
photographer.
So photogenic.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, your family is. I was like, wow, so beautiful ladies.
So Nikki had an event. And she has many of them. So listeners, definitely take a look at Lovely Hollow for events. Even like she said, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sundays, going out there and picking. So this event was we got to pick our kind of stencil, I would say.
Yeah.
And then it was me and my sisters and my mom and a friend and a cousin that we all decided to go. And so, you know, we're painting and we're kind of laughing because my mom and sister and cousin are like, they're the sheep shaggy. Like, they love to do paint nines.
They were like, theirs was really good.
They're
like
the crafty ones.
Was really good.
They're definitely the crafty ones. Like, their whole house, you walk in, has all these things. You know the people with these decor, right? And so we're there, and we're like going way faster than everybody else. Yeah. And we were going to go to the Caldwell Night Rodeo afterwards.
Yeah, did you end up going?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah. And we were like, we're not waiting for instructions. We're just doing this. And then while we're doing it, we're like, wait, are we even doing this correctly? Because there's so many different ways you could be doing it. And we're like, did we peel off what we actually should have kept on instead of like, we're not even paying attention, but we're just finding it, whatever. And so we go out and we go get photos, and the lady comes to us and she's like, oh my gosh, can I take photos of you guys? And we're like, yeah, sure. Yeah. We're smiling. We're like, oh, and do this and do that. And then like out of all of the people, those are the ones that when she posted them, our family was the very first ones. It was my mom and us girls. And I was like, you know what? That memory.
Yeah. That was cute.
Is 1,000% what Lovely Hollow gives, you know? And I still have those flowers, you know.
Oh gosh, are they still okay? They're probably like...
They are. Yeah. So there's a handful of them that are, you know, kind of had their end, but there's also still, like you said, it was the memory. I was actually thinking this morning, I'm like, gosh, how could I like press these flowers to keep them? Like, because I do remember it was a night with my sisters, with my mom, like, you know, those
the weather
things.
Was so nice too. It was like cool. Not 1,000 degrees. It was sweating down your bum. Yeah. It was nice.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
So besides, you know, learning from the start, like how do you manage all those flowers? Like, what do you have these events and you have the day that people come and pick, but like what is the behind the scenes of Nikki?
So behind the scenes, this is quite the question. So I'm actually get into that. Okay, so it's definitely not as organized as you would think. I'm very like fly by the seat. I'm very kind of all over the place. I feel like I'm good at a few things, and I'm good at like social media marketing, like getting the word out that these events are happening. And I'm good at starting seeds in my greenhouse and like growing these flowers from seed to flower. I struggle balancing all of that by around this time. I usually start to like experience burnout this time of year. I don't know why. It's just been so hot for so long, and the flowers kind of start to look sad, and it depends on like how many people have come to the farm, like if they kind of look a little tired, if they need like a break or something. But basically a day in the life is like getting up, checking on the whole farm, checking irrigation, checking for pests, which that's been like it's been so hot and dry. We have like spider mites right now. So that's been like kind of annoying to like deal with that and figure out like what I need to put on these flowers to help them, you know, become pest free. I'm dealing with like a problem in my front yard, or it's like where like the gray shed, there's like the cute gray shed, and there's like 12 rows of flowers. There's like some kind of like disease, I think, in the soil. So Simplot's like testing the soil right now, and I'm trying, like things are just kind of dying quickly. Thankfully I have flowers in the back, like in the big backfield and the dahlia field, and I have like all the pumpkins. So thankfully like we'll probably be okay, but it's like, it is embarrassing. Like I hate being like, okay, yeah, like the front yard flowers kind of look like a little sad because I'm dealing with a fungus problem, I think. So basically it's like a lot of problem solving. It's a lot of reacting. It's been a lot of, instead of like preparing, and like it's been a lot of reacting this season, because since I moved my location. So for people that are listening, I started my farm in 2019 in a place called Sand Hollow, Idaho. And after 3 years, it was just time to move it. I did not own the land, and it was just time to move the farm. So I moved it to my family's property in Caldwell on Chicken Dinner Road, so kind of by the wineries. So it's kind of fun. So I'm really grateful to my family for like letting me have this corner. It's like 8 acres. Anyway, so just kind of moving everything, getting everything built back up has been kind of chaotic. It's done, it happened, but because of that, I just feel like I wasn't like on like a strict, like, okay, fungicide schedule, okay, like insecticide schedule, okay, fertilizing schedule. I kind of just like would wait for things to be like, oh shit, that's dying, what do I do? Which is not how you should farm, but like I have to give myself grace because it was just such a crazy year. Like that field, if like people go look on my Instagram, like, so now it's August, but like that field pretty much up until the end of April was still just like an alfalfa field. There was nothing on it. There was no power. There was no irrigation. There was no well drilled. There was no like sprinklers put in. There was no grass. There was no flowers. There was definitely no flowers. There was no gravel. There was no parking. It was just this field. And so it's been like this rat race to get this all built before we opened up. I think it was like, gosh, when did we open up? I think it was like July 27th, which is like.
I do think it was.
Yeah, it was like a month. I usually open up in June, and I opened up in July this year because it was just a challenging year.
Yeah.
But here we are. I don't even know what questions you asked me. Sorry. This is like so. This is so
This
Nikki.
is so Nikki.
This is so Nikki being like, okay, so where are we at? Gosh.
You're like, wait, I'm on a podcast right now?
So
what
bad.
happened?
Oh my gosh. Teachers in high school, I'm sure you remember this. You're just like, oh my God, Nikki. Jeez Louise. I hope we don't get her in our class. She's such a distraction. She doesn't even remember anything. Anyway, whatever. It's fine.
So a question with that is, you basically had a blank slate.
Mm-hmm.
You could start. How did you figure out the layout?
Mm-hmm.
How did you figure out where you wanted things? Because when you do go, it is very thought out. It is very organized. How did you make that happen?
So kind of back to like our first question is you're like, you know, you learn these things like the hard way. So my first location was like, it was all an afterthought. Like I just was like, oh, I'm going to throw flowers here and some grass here and we'll call it good and we'll have no parking. And so I learned the hard way from that first location, like, oh my gosh, I need parking. Like I need this, I need a bigger yard. I need a food truck area, like designated. I need like more flowers. I need more dahlias. I need it to be more accessible by foot. And so I actually hired a landscape architect to come out to my old location when I was still open, because I was open until like late September last year. So I had him come in September, and because I knew I was going to move, and I'm like, hey, can you check out this place? Like basically make it nothing like this place, like similar in the way that it keeps like, okay, this is like, I have like a cute little garden shed that was kind of like the birth of it all, like, little, you know, so I'm like, okay, like incorporate this, but like I need bigger, I need like more expanse, like I need just better foot traffic, I need way better parking, like just so accessible. And so he is the one that laid it out for me. I cannot take credit for that. Yeah. So his name's Ray, little Ray. He's so cute. And so he's like an old man. So he did the layout for me. And then I just kind of adjusted it. Like I was like, I don't like that. I don't like that. And so then we just kind of like played with it. So that's in question to like the clean slate. It was this guy that did the designing. And then from there, I just decided like what flowers I wanted where. And so like right now, like the dahlias are like right in the front, and like the pumpkins are kind of like on the outskirt of like the 8 acres, which will be, I think, really cool, because then everyone can like weigh their pumpkins and then like right by their car and then jump in there. So for pumpkin days, we have like in a month, like it's pure chaos. I'm hoping to make that not chaos. But anyway, that's kind of how I did the layout, I guess. I just thought of how things that did not work at the last place.
Yeah. Definitely through trial.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a winded answer. Trial and error. Sorry.
No, that's what you're here for.
Yeah.
That is what you're here for. But I think it's important because you can't do it all. You know, you can't design it all. You can't, I think that's why people do feel burnout, is because we are trying to do everything.
Oh,
and
for sure.
You are getting pulled in so many different directions. And it's not like you can just establish this and then everything does it itself with this product.
Gosh, I wish. Yeah.
It's you, you are the forefront of this, and you are the one coming with these ideas. And I'm sure people come to you and say, well, have you thought about this?
Oh,
and you're like
all day, every day. They're like, have you thought of doing weddings? I'm like, I have, and I'm never doing that. I'm just kidding. But I'm like, no, I'm like, I cannot, I will combust. Like, which it's so nice. And people are funny too. They'll be like, sorry, you probably get this all the time. And I'm like, you have no idea. But they're really nice. Like, and some of them actually, I'm like, that's actually not a bad idea. But you do have to just, I think with a business that's especially like social media driven, and it's very like fantasy and it's very magical. Like it's very beautiful. It's easy for people to be like, oh my gosh, you should do this. You should do this. You should do this. And I'm like, for sure, great ideas. But like, also I'm like, I'm just one human. And of course I can hire help. And like, and I do have help. I have girls helping me on the weekends and on Wednesday nights to like register and stuff, but I don't really have like anyone there that's like helping me like implement events and like set up these things. Like it's pretty much just me and my approval or disapproval, I guess. And I'm just one person. So I guess until I get to that point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to take it to the next level and have like an assistant or like a manager, which I'm just not really there yet, I don't think, then I guess I'll just be like, thank you for your suggestion. But, no.
You need just a suggestion box at your place.
I'm like, here's, exactly.
When they come, they're like, have you thought about it? I'm like, have you actually gone to the suggestion box?
Yeah, it's okay. Seriously, sometimes like it's really hard too because, okay, I shouldn't say hard. I feel so grateful, but sometimes it's hard because people want to chat with you, but I'm also like running the register. So I'm like, and they'll like have questions about growing flowers and stuff. And I'm like, can we just like email? Like, let's just email about like your questions. Or I have like a lot of people that come like, I want to start a flower farm. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. But like, I just don't have time to do like a 101 right now. Like there's like 1,000 people here. So could we just rearrange this meeting? Which is, I feel really grateful that people even look up to me for that because I literally, 4 years ago, I was like, flowers were not my life.
No. Cows were. Like, cows have always been in your life.
Yeah, no, so I grew up on a feedlot. Like, oh my God, I cannot believe that. I'm just, like, blown away by that. Yeah, I literally grew up in a family of 3 girls, so 4 girls altogether. None of my sisters were ever interested in horses or cattle. My dad has, like, a couple feedlots, like, here in Nebraska, like, big cattle guy, trader, buyer, whatever. And I, like, loved cows. Well, loved cows. I just liked the business and like I was like really into like 4-H and FFA. I truly thought I was gonna like run a feedlot, like raise my kids. I don't have any kids. Raise my non-existent family on a feedlot and like the whole thing. And I came back from college in 2016 and I like hated it. I just realized like I didn't want to do this. And so then I took a break from the feedlot, kind of worked some like fun odd jobs like secretary, nanny, like Dutch Bros. And that's when I realized I was like, I need a people job. Like, and I have to work for myself.
Yeah.
Like I'm an Enneagram 8. I'm just stubborn. I need to work for myself. And so I was like, what can I do? And that's when I was like, I should do this. Yeah.
What were you working in with cattle in Twin Falls when we both were living up there? Yeah.
Gosh, we both were going through some stuff.
Yes.
Right? Oh my gosh. God bless. I'm just like flashback, PTSD. I was working at my family's buying station. So it's almost like a private sale yard where you go and like sell your cows. So like that it's like, you know, when you see like auction rings, well, you and I, but like for anyone that's like listening, that like they're like, what's a sale yard? Like, it's like basically like a place where you come and bring your livestock and like, it's like the people that own this business get like a commission, like a percentage of the sale because like they're like they're like the middleman between maybe like someone that's like buying this cow and whatever. Yeah. So it was like it was called a buying station. So it was a lot of like, oh my God. Yeah. I was like, this is like so ridiculous. I would like drive around and like pick up dairy cows all day, like big fat dairy cows or like almost dead dairy cows and like bring them back to the sale yard and like buy them, like weigh them out, buy them, put them on a truck to wherever they need to go. And that was what I was doing in 2016. Wow. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I did that. And that's when I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is not, I don't enjoy this.
Because I think that's when, so that was the last time I had seen you until running into you at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Because Cheyenne is always, and if people are listening, episode 2, Cheyenne Weldon.
Yeah.
Well, now Cheyenne Scogan. I get to say that. Mrs. Scogan now. So I remember she had came up to visit you. I was living there, going to paramedic school. We all 3 connected. And that was the last time until, running into you at Starbucks. So we've always had the mutual friends, but I think between you and I were very similar in being ping pongs of just like, what are you doing now? I don't know. Like whatever,
I would actually so agree with that for sure. Oh, absolutely.
Like out of our group of girlfriends, the 2 people that are like just all over the place aren't the best at connecting because we are all over the place.
Yeah, for sure.
Like our friends definitely bring, they're like ground the anchor.
Us. Yeah,
they ground us for sure.
Oh, I would so agree with you.
Talking about Mrs. Scogan and flower arrangements, we did their flower arrangements for the wedding.
Oh my gosh, how was that?
I was obsessed. I wish I could.
Did you enjoy it? Okay.
I That's good. Loved it.
It can be really
I loved it. And I think it was fun because, like you said, I mean, there's so many different aspects between the flowers. Like, why she picked these colors? Why she picked these, you know, arrangements? But then we all, as bridesmaids, were making them. And I'm very proud. I did the centerpiece above where they actually got married.
Are you serious? You did the arch? That's
I did
really
the arch,
cool.
and then I also did their centerpiece, where everybody was for dinner.
Yeah,
and it was very.
Dude, arranging flowers is hard. I don't do it. I just grow them. I do not. I refuse. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It really is. I think it's a visionary,
for
where like
sure.
some people are like, oh, this is really beautiful, and I'm just gonna like stick them all together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Versus like the shapes and the size and the colors and like how you have to rearrange that. And I think for people that, like especially you, growing them is one thing, rearranging them isn't. Like I couldn't imagine.
No, it's hard. No.
I could not imagine you putting that on your plate.
I feel bad because people like come to me. Some people like will bring their buckets up because basically the model is you come to the farm, I give you a bucket and some scissors, whatever you pay for it, and you go out in the field and you can cut whatever you want, like do whatever you want. And some people will come back after they've cut their flowers, and I'm like, wow, like you need to be a florist, like that looks so good. And then it'll be like so sad. Someone will like come up with like whatever they have, and I'm like, oh, you should not be a florist. And I feel bad, and they feel bad too. And they're like, do you have any tips? And I'm like, well, I'm not terrible. I don't really find joy in it. My joy is for sure just creating a space for people to come, but I'm like, yeah, I can like help you. Like I feel bad. Like I don't want you to be like, what a shit product. But it's fine. Most people are like, it's fine. Like I'm not good at this, but we had so much fun. Like, thank you. And I'm like, okay, yeah. But yeah, I know it's an art. It's for sure an art. Yeah. It's just like, I feel like flowers fall into the same category as like, maybe like makeup and hair and home decor. Like I think that people think it's like so easy to do, but I can tell you right now, I can absolutely not do hair. I don't even own a curling iron. I don't like people think that those talents that people engage in, like those 4 things I mentioned, are just so effortless and easy. And like, I feel like you get like a lot of like sometimes like, oh, like you have like, if they don't really know, it's like, oh, like you grow flowers, like what? Like anyone could do that, or like, oh, you arrange flowers, or like. And I'm like, no, it's like a real talent. Like this takes a lot of work. Like hair, makeup, decor, flowers. Like I feel like it takes a lot of work. And those are things that people are like, oh, well, can you? Sorry, I'm not getting off on a tangent here, but it happened the other day. Like, oh, well, my budget's like $100 for like all these flowers, and I'm like, well, that's actually like really offensive. And I feel like that those other 3 things fall into that category of people being like, oh, can you just like do it for free?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, like absolutely not. Like, and people should start. Like artists should start being like, no, which I guess I've started to do. So there you go. I don't know. That was a like, weird tangent. Sorry. I'm obviously still simmering about like what happened earlier. Like, hey, are you coming? I'm like, what, you think I'm just like leisurely lollygagging in my garden? Like, oh yeah, let me bring you my arrangements. I'm like, dude, no, like I had no idea we were doing this. Moving on. Sorry.
This is so Nikki. For any of you listening and know her, this 1,000% is Nikki Van Lith to a T.
God, all over the place. Squirrel brain. Oh my gosh. So bad.
Going back to you talking about doing, like teaching people, maybe how to start a farm, or if they have questions, do you think you would ever start anything like in the winter times? Like maybe some one-on-one classes, or like, hey, let me send you that, or like,
or like, like charging people for like some sort of like lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely need to probably start something, because so I got approached for an ebook deal like a year ago, and I just never really acted on it because it just seems so, it's one of those things like, okay, it's like so daunting. Like, how am I going to get all this done and grow flowers and do social media and like be normal? Like, how will I do this? And so I just need to dedicate time, and I think it goes down to probably hiring someone like, so I can do these things, because a lot of people want this like resource. And I get a lot of requests like, hey, I would love to pay you for your time. Like, can I come shadow you? And I'm like, oh, dude, like my life is such a mess. Like I'll roll out of bed like in the winter, like I'm not gonna lie, I kind of sleep in, and like I'll roll out, do some seeds, dink around, go get a coffee, like do some taxes. Like, come on. Like, I'm like, my life is such a joke. Like I feel funny being like, yeah, let me charge you so you can see how I do this all. But also people like, obviously there's something that I'm doing that's working, so I probably should give myself a little bit more credit. But it's funny when people ask me like, can I come like see how you do it? I'm like, are you kidding me? I put on a bra. Like, like I don't know. I'm just like, I probably need to start some sort of resource, whether it's an ebook or like like a subscription on Instagram, or like this is like my seedling learning class, like
Patreon. You can just start a Patreon, like have different tiers, or classes.
Like, you start OnlyFans for flowers, and I'm like, creepy. No, I'm just kidding. So it's like, no, but so I just need to start something because people want it. And I just need to give myself more credit because I'm like, I didn't really learn. Like I said, I was literally herding cows by horseback not too long ago. This flowers I kind of self-taught. I just did like a lot of YouTube, a lot of reading, just experimenting, trial and error. And honestly, it's really not that hard to grow flowers. It's funny because people are like, I have a black thumb, and but okay, actually, I'm the first person to be like, I kill houseplants. They don't survive near me. I will get a fake one, like this guy over here. But like, really growing flowers is not that hard. Like the whole back field, it was all just, I didn't start those in a greenhouse. I didn't really even fertilize them. I literally put them in the ground, little seeds, and they grew. And they look great. They're like actually the most popular ones on the farm. The ones that I did start in the greenhouse are like, oh, I have a fungus and I'm dying. I'm like, why? Anyway, sorry, off on a tangent. I do need to start a resource. Amen.
As I'm the person of like, take it to the suggestion box.
Yeah, no, literally. I'm like, maybe I just need to get a suggestion. I do. Maybe I should just get one. Oh my gosh. People will probably like leave reviews as well. Gosh.
But I think you are such a staple within the community of your family. And I think it's hard for you to give credit because it's not like you went and got this mentored by you. Like it's just scrambling. It's just figuring it out. And I think that's who you are as a person and a personality of like, hey, this isn't working, but we could do this and now it's going to work. Yeah. And I think in society, that's overlooked by so much of like, oh, you don't have a specific job title or specific person over you, or how do you manage somebody? Like, this is Nikki's life. Nikki's life you can do it, you know? Yeah. And I think that I can just see that from the outside because sometimes I do get that with the podcast too like, you know, where are you going or what are you doing or this? And I'm like, I'm one person. Like you can only you can only do what you are wanting to do. And I think if you did give that power away, you're going to lose what you want out of it.
Right. No, I have to really be careful because like, especially when I start to experience burnout this time of year, because it's been, well, normally I'm open by 8 weeks for now, but I've only been open for 4 because whatever, we built a new location. But it feels like I've been open for 10,000 years because it was such a rat race in April, May, and June to get this place sold. Anyway, I really have to keep sight of what I love about Lovely Hollow, and the things that I don't love, I have to give to someone else because I will like start to like hate things. Like I am like, oh my gosh. Well, I don't even really like emails. I'm like, ugh.
They're terrible.
Like, yeah, I'm like, I want to be like, please don't respond to this. Just thumbs up it if you can. You can't thumbs up an email, but like, do not even respond to it because like it's confirmed. Yeah, like I'll see you at 7 p.m. for your photo shoot, whatever. But like, don't respond. Because then like it just comes back and you're like, oh, delete. And so no, I just like stuff like that. Website stuff. I'm not very good at that. I have someone else do that for me.
You're doing great at social media, though.
You. That is really fun. Thank you.
I did actually ask. I was like, who is doing your social media? Because I need somebody for mine. And
you're
like,
doing great.
Yeah,
that was me. No, I kind of went crazy. I've kind of toned it down on the whole drone. Well, the reels take up a lot of your time. But yeah, I was like really going wild with the reels for a second because I really needed to generate new location, because I didn't want people going to the old location because that's not mine. So that's why I was kind of going crazy with the reels and all that stuff. But thank you. That was really nice of you. Yeah.
How has it been? I mean, is it fun being on your family's farm?
Yes and no. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. So my parents live like a mile away, and so I've had to have some strong boundaries. So my parents are very social, and they know. Well, my mother, oh my god, I swear, she just knows everyone in the world. She's like the kindest person ever, and she's just like a chatter. She'll just like chat your ear off. Oh my gosh, love her. Anyway, and so I've had to have like strong boundaries. Like, okay, like you cannot have your chatting hour in my barn because you're like chatting. And I'm like trying to sell people buckets and I can like hear you chatting and I'm like, you cannot gather in my barn anymore. So I've had to have like some strong boundaries, but no, that is like the smallest like inconvenience. No, I'm so grateful to be back where I grew up on that road, like on that land. Like it would be 100% not possible had my family not owned this land. So they own like 160 acres like around Chicken Dinner. So this is the farm. It sits on like a 40-acre field. And so like 30 acres of it is alfalfa, 8 of it is flowers and pumpkins and whatever. Would not have been able to do this without them. When I came to them in September of last year and I was like, I'm moving the farm, like I don't know what to do because like I don't have $1 million to go buy. Like, I don't even know. Well, you're in real estate.
Yeah.
What is it even right now to buy like a little piece of farm property?
I mean, it's one locations is different, but you are going to be looking at $1 million, especially for what you're wanting to do. Accessibility, close to town.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have to split it with some farmer that has, that's just not, you don't
I wouldn't
find
have,
that.
yeah, I just remember being like, and I just like came to my parents and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I've built this business and it's very public too. That was hard too because the flower farm, like it was moved because of a very personal and very a very difficult situation in my life, which I haven't really opened up to a lot of people about it via like just the public eye. I just haven't because I'm just not healed from it yet. And I'm looking forward to the day that I can come back maybe here or somewhere or anywhere and just like post my story, like talk about my story of why I moved it. But anyway, it was very, very difficult and very heartbreaking. And I just remember just feeling so defeated. And my parents were like, there is literally nothing we would not do for you because as parents, like you just want ultimate happiness for your kids. And I feel really grateful. Sorry, I'm crying.
You're making me cry.
Yeah, and it just was really emotional. It was, and I cannot ever, I cannot say thank you enough to them, and I cannot be more grateful for them. So yeah, Lovely Hollow would not exist if it was not for my parents, Joel and Shelley Van Lith. My dad is one of the hardest working humans. He can be such an asshole when it comes to business. Like a lot of people are like, because the Van Liths, there's like 8 brothers. And they're all in the cattle business, and they're like a little rough around the edges. And it's funny because like if you run into someone that's like, "Oh, you're a Van Lith," like, which Van Lith are you? I'm like, which one do you want me to be? They're like, "Are you Joel's kid?" I'm like, "I'm Joel's kid." And they're like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know," because he's a very savvy businessman, and he is rough, but like, I don't know, he's very successful. So
that's also
I guess
why he's very successful.
Yeah, he like has strong boundaries. He has a quick temper. He's Dutch. Like it makes sense, but I could not do it without my parents, Joel and Shelley, for sure. Shout out to you guys. Thank you.
Which is so fun because a lot of people don't think that Chicken Dinner Road is a real road.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Like we have a winery on it now.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, they were there last night. Last night they came to the Houston Winery. It was like, we're going to come and serve wine. I was like, hell yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're phenomenal.
They're great, yeah.
And it's an area of town that when you drive out there, it still feels and smells exactly like I remember it as a kid. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, let's load up. We're gonna go out there,
Yeah, because like, Cheyenne grew up just a mile from there. Yeah,
just a mile from there. Yes. And so we were always over at her house.
Being crazy, raising hell.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely have a lot of stories of the houses just right down the road from your farm. Yeah. But that's the fun part, and that's the fun experience where I think you give people that opportunity to escape. Yeah. And like go feel what it feels like to live on a farm and go feel what it feels like to go drive down the roads that, we grew up on and now we get to say like, we remember when that was a farm,
I know, yeah, because like the subdivisions are kind of making their way out there. Like I said, that's why I'm like so grateful to have this property because it could easily be, my parents could have easily sold that for millions to a developer, like easily. But my dad was like, no, I'm not doing that because he likes the country living too. But yeah, no, Chicken Dinner Road is such a fun road. Like there's so many things on it. I was actually kind of driving around today because I had to go out to Koenig and pick up like an auction item for like a fundraiser. And like, there's all these wineries. There's this Koenig distillery. There's the Orchard Houses out there. There's the Cherry Hill Farms is out there. There's all these experiences that are out kind of surrounding this road. And it really is a fun little road. And yeah, it's like so ridiculous. I remember like, if you had to like call and like change your address or like do something with billing or like call Idaho Power, they're like, okay, like what's your address? And you're like, blah blah blah, Chicken Dinner Road, and they're like, is that a real road? I'm like, it is. You should come. You should come to it. It's really fun. You don't know about it. Yeah. So no, it is a really fun road. So I'm just so grateful to be home. I could not be more grateful to just be back on the land that I was raised on. Gosh, I sound like a pilgrim. Okay. So ridiculous.
That's exciting though. Like where, I guess, how do you pick the flowers that you are going to?
Okay, yeah. This one's easy. So when I started learning about flowers, I learned just like through like a flower cutting book or a flower farm book. There's a bunch of them. You want to pick flowers that you want to choose the flowers that will always reproduce after you cut them. You don't want to grow anything that's just once. Like you don't want to grow tulips. You don't want to grow peonies, which is so funny. Everyone's like, the other day, someone's like, do you have any peonies? And I'm like, so first of all, we're in August. That's a Mayflower. So it's I didn't say that, but I was like, we do not. But I don't grow peonies. Like it's because they bloom once and then they're done. They also are like, they last for like 2 days. Like they bloom and then they're like, right? I don't know if you have any, but they're like, so like they bloom and then they literally just, they're done. So they're so beautiful though. Anyway. You always want to pick something that comes back. So snapdragon, zinnias, sunflowers, celosia, amaranth, pincushion. What else is out there? Ceranth, all that stuff. You always want to do that. And then you always want to grow ones that are obviously good for our area. So like I don't really grow. I'm trying to think of something that's like so like it's like an East Coast thing, and I'm like, yeah, I don't grow that. I can't really. There's been my brain is kind of mush today. But anyway, I can't grow some things here. It's just too hot. It just doesn't work. It's too hot and dry. They need like shade and like all humidity and stuff like that. So you just have to know like what's going to thrive in your area. So kind of like not boring, but like kind of boring-ish. Like sunflowers and zinnias are always going to succeed here in Idaho, in this valley, Treasure Valley. Like they're always good. Okay, here's an example. Hydrangeas just don't really do that great here. Like the mop head ones, like the pretty ones you see in Coeur d'Alene, like the purple and blue, like they're so beautiful. They just do not do well down here in this valley. So you have to like know your boundaries, right? But anyway, you just always want to pick flowers that are going to do well in this area. So that's like zinnias and sunflowers for sure. Dahlias actually do pretty well. It's really funny. I had people tell me which dahlias are everyone's like favorite because they're so beautiful.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, they're just they're so fun. Right now, I think we planted like 2,500 tubers.
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of a weird year though. They haven't really like taken off. Like they've bloomed. Like everyone's at least gotten like a few plants or a few blooms from each plant, but like they haven't really like just like had that wave of explosion like they normally have. And I've been like researching like other flower farmers, like not really around our area, but just around the country. And everyone's kind of having that issue. I think the weather is obviously huge. Weather is like the biggest stress of farming. But anyway, dahlias like actually do pretty well here. They're actually like Mexico's like, I'm not going to say state flower because that would sound really stupid, but they're like Mexico's like flower. They do really well in Mexico, but they also do like if you go up to Seattle or wherever and like really humid and rainy, oh my gosh, they're like so good there. But yeah, you just have to like know your boundaries with the earth and like with your region and like whatever. It's that was kind of a crazy answer. Sorry again. Pretty much it.
This is still Nikki. For anybody listening.
You're like a whiteboard. I'm like, okay.
You're like, and to the next topic.
Yeah, you should have like a whiteboard with the question so I can circle back to the question. Circle back. Anyway.
You're fine. I will say, tell us like what are your next events coming up? Gosh, what can they expect coming into fall?
Yeah, fall's so fun. Okay, so tonight in like a few hours I have another paint night, but that's obviously passed by the time we listen to this. But let's see. So September, let's get into September. That's when the dahlias actually will have that like wave of just like beauty, which I'm so excited about because they like the cooler weather. And so basically in September we have our pumpkins. So like those are all growing. Oh my gosh, the other day this was like so ridiculous. This like family, God bless them, their kids like went and like picked a bunch of pumpkins that were not ready, and then they were like bringing them in the yard and like stabbing them with the scissors. It was like the most bizarre thing. And I was like, hi, those are like not like ready to be picked yet. So then the family went and put them back in the patch. I was like, yeah, we'll keep growing. It's fine. Anyway, whatever.
With your stab marks in
it just was like so bizarre. That's like what you get when you open up your business to like the public. You just have to accept it. You're like, okay, that was weird, but okay. Anyway, so September, pumpkins will be ready. So I'm gonna do I call it pumpkin days, I think that's what it's called. I don't even remember when this became a thing, when I started calling it that, but it just became a thing. So it's like 2 weekends in September and October, and that's like when the pumpkins come out, and I have like tons of craft vendors, and like I have lots of food trucks that have like all pumpkins flavored things. And it's just fun. Yeah. And there's really just cute photo scenes. Like if you come to pick flowers or pumpkins, like I have like my cute like 1959 Chevy truck all decked out in like corn stalks and straw bales and like just all kinds of pumpkins. Like I grow a lot of like the specialty ones and like the jack-o'-lanterns, like anything that you want, it's like pretty much there. So that will be September, like basically the end of September and then the beginning of October. It's like a weekend. So just that's coming up. And then just up until then, just like the regular kind of just like, yeah, every weekend we're open for flower picking. There's always food trucks there. And then like the dahlias, like I know I just keep talking about them, but I'm just like so excited for them. And those will be like just so much more prominent. Cause like people have been coming like, oh, do you have any dahlias? And I'm like, well, they're right here. But like, if you come later in the evening from a sunset picking, sometimes they like get picked over. So anyway, well, whatever. They should be in plenty of bloom by then. But yeah, I guess the biggest thing that we have going on is pumpkin days, which is in a month.
Okay.
Sorry, another winded answer. Oh my gosh, it's like a 5-hour podcast. Sorry, everyone.
Okay, before we do wrap up, I want to hear a little bit of the story of your blue Chevy pickup.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was so let's see. I saw him has a name, it has a gender. I don't even know what it is. I don't know what it identifies as. But it's a 1959 Chevy Apache. It's blue, and I saw it on the side of the road in Fruitland, Idaho, like a year ago. And it was just like sitting there, and it was like for sale, like $4,000. And I was like, what? Like, that's pretty cool. And I figured it actually didn't run, which was like, I guess, a dumb assumption. And the guy was like, no, it runs. Like, it totally runs. And I was like, oh, cool. And so I was like, well, I'll like pay you cash for it, like whatever. And he's like, sounds great. So I just took it home like a year ago around this time, had it like glossed up. Like I kept the patina and everything. It's like all like rusted out kind of, but it's still really cool. And then I had my logo put on it. And the guy actually ended up knowing. It was kind of funny. He was like only like the second owner. It was in really good shape, minus the seat had like a mouse family living in it, but whatever. If I had like the bench redone, but the guy like knew my grandpa, kind of. It was kind of funny. Yeah, he was like, "Oh, are you a Van Lith?" I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "Oh, that's so cool." He's like, "I think I kind of grew up like I kind of know your grandpa." He's like, "How is he?" And I was like, "Well, he's not alive." No, I'm just kidding. My grandma died like a long time ago, so I was like, "Okay." But that was kind of funny. So it was kind of cool how it was like full circle. He's like, I think I knew your family, blah, blah, blah. So there's not like a huge story behind it, but I just bought it because I thought it was cool, and I love that it runs, and I'll drive it around sometimes. Not in town because it only goes like 20 miles an hour, and it stinks. I'm always like, oh my gosh. Or like sometimes like I'll have to get in it to move it for like photo scenes. And I'm like, how the hell people driving this from Oklahoma to California back in the 50s? I would die. It gets so hot. You're like seriously sweating so hard in there. There's no AC, obviously.
There's nothing.
There's nothing. I'm like, how the hell did people do this?
But it's adorable for photos.
It is super cute. No, that's super cute. I love it so much. Yeah, that's like one thing I like to do is like create like little photo scenes. So for pumpkin days, I'll make sure to like get a bunch of corn stalks from like the neighbor or something. I don't know. I didn't grow corn this year, and like some straw bales, and like make just like cute scenes everywhere. Cause like, I mean, honestly, like Instagram is a huge force behind like you know, if someone goes Lovely Hollow,
it's free advertising.
Yeah, which it scares me because I'm like, what if it ever goes away? I really need to like get on that. I need to get like an email list going. I have one, but like it's like one more thing. I got to do that. Anyway, but yeah, Instagram, like someone goes Lovely Hollow, they're gonna take a photo there, and then they're gonna post it, and then someone's gonna be like, where'd you go? And they're like, oh, we went here. So it really is like a generating kind of advertisement. So that's why I try to do like cute scenes, because it's like, you know, people want to take photos there and they post them. So yeah. So yeah, that's kind of it.
It's free sharing. Yeah. It's free sharing. Okay, well, we definitely will have you back.
Yay.
A little bit later when you haven't had a crazy day.
Yeah.
We will speak more on why you moved the farm.
Yes,
just not the right time and not the right place.
Lovely Hollow tells all. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Like the men tells all.
Yes. We will definitely have you back. But for now, thank you for sharing more of the stories of why you started and how you started.
Well, thank you for having me. This is like an honor. Thank you.
Absolutely. So listeners, make sure you go and check out Lovely Hollow. If you're there, definitely, tell them that you saw and heard the podcast. Always love, like she said, the free advertising, which is good for all of us little small businesses. And I would also love you to head over to Apple Podcast and give this podcast a review. It's always helping support me and helping support other listeners deciding to come on here. So, Nikki, thank you for coming on here, and
thanks,
we will see you again.
Sounds great. See you soon.
Bye. Thank you for tuning into the show today. Your feedback is very important to me. If you could leave a review, as well as follow me on Instagram at rawthoughts.podcast and email in at m.rawthoughts@gmail.com if you have any guest suggestions.